Kindly check and let me know. Kindly check, let me know if you have access to it.
Madam on the LMS.
Yes, please.
Right.
Yeah, it is on there now.
Okay, thanks for prompting me.
So, madam, so would we have like an extension or because it says overdue?
Okay, so let me
It's-
forward you. That means I sent uh ah okay. Don't worry. That would not affect unit. I'll just edit this so that which one are you talking about? Is it the open forum or the assignment?
It's open
The
for you.
the turning data
I
into
see.
Yeah,
Decisions.
that's the
Okay.
decision.
Huh. How is that overdue? I just posted it. Okay. I'll review this and revert. Do we have a good number to start?
31, yes, madam. They are still joining, but I think it's a good one.
Okay. All right. So far, we have spent a considerable amount of time and trying to understand business intelligence, the workflow, trying to understand data and how to generate data, like how to organize data. Um, have you reviewed yeah, I mean, by your follow-up questions, it gives me the impression that you've reviewed last week's content. A quick feedback. If you have any quick feedback for me, let me take it now. So that's I mean, whilst we are still waiting for the other string. The content uploaded, you have a mix of video, audio, no, video and then text, slide presentations, notes. Which ones do you find it's easy understanding? Do you think best supports your learning progress, your learning journey? Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, madam.
Yeah.
Okay, so, madam, I wanted to ask this question with the delivery status. I mean, the columns we inserted and we performed some calculations over there.
Yeah.
The delivery status and then the delivery date, I mean, order date. It wasn't there
Mm.
when the raw data was given when we manually entered. So in this kind of context, in a situation whereby a company has given you a data like this to analyze, you, the data analyst or business analyst, you are the one to figure
Environmental
out,
politics.
or they will add the questions, or they will add what actually they are looking for, or regardless of whether they are asking or not, you are supposed to figure all these things out and perform it.
Okay, so based on the questions, well, fine. I think this question has popped up a number of times,
Yes.
and there is no one fits answer for it, in that some businesses are already organized when it comes to data. They are data literate. So they would provide you the data and tell you what to do, like the questions they want to solve. So let's say they have given you a data with delivery dates and then order dates and delivery dates, right? And
Right.
they ask you a question about you finding which of the suppliers they have delivers on time, right? So you are going to use your data skills to find out the time it takes for the delivery to for the delivery to how long it took for the delivery to arrive. So you are going to take the delivery date from the order date to get a date that it was how long it took for the delivery to arrive. Yes, so some of these data you'll have them with the data set that they provide, but in analyzing them, right, you have to come up with solutions to the problem, right? So if they ask you to find like the best performing supplier in terms of delivery and price, you are going to use yet again the delivery dates. You subtract the delivery dates from the order dates to get the orders, the suppliers that the day, how
Homework.
long it took for the delivery to arrive. So you get that date. And then based on that, you look at them. Maybe you have a supplier that it took 3 days, 2 days, 5 days, and all that. Now you are going to look at best. There are two questions, right? So the best performing supplier in terms of delivery timeline and price. So when you notice that sometimes you have 2 or 3 suppliers who are all delivering early, right? So you realize for cement, maybe one supplier A delivered within 3 days, supplier B 3 days, and then supplier C also 3 days. They all have the same timeline. They all deliver their good early. But then the next question is the best performing supplier in terms of price. So you're going to look at these 3 suppliers who gives you the best price, right?
Right.
Then that becomes your what do you call it? Your best performing supplier. So that is how you answer such business questions. So the
So
data that they provide will you may find majority, like the data will support most of the questions they are asking, but it is through your analysis that you would come up with added columns, right, to gain these insights. So you realize that with the video I uploaded last week, it came when we were manually uploading them. We had the supplier, region, quantity, order date, and so on. But when we're analyzing, trying to find how long it took, it wasn't there. We had to create that ourselves. You realize that.
yes, yeah.
So that is how that is why we say, like, once you're a business analyst, you're analyzing data for business decision, you should, as part of the technical skills that you have, that is, let's say, manipulating or managing, organizing data in Excel, querying them, visualizing them. You also need to have like critical thinking
Critical
abilities
thinking. Okay.
to ask the right questions, right? So that is why most business analyst jobs, when you try looking around, like business analysis roles that involves business analysis and data analysis, one way or the other, you're going to find them requiring some mathematics background because we use math to solve problems.
Yeah.
You get it. And then they require a little bit of they require business knowledge, right? So let's say you are a procurement analyst. You are a procurement manager and officer. And I'm the business analyst here without procurement background, right? As part of your skills, you should also have collaboration skills and communication skills because you'll be working with people. You are the analyst. You are able to analyze business data, but you don't have the business knowledge. So you leverage your relationship with the procurement manager, right? And those within the organization, asking the right the right questions. And that is where communication skills also come in. You need to have good relationship with these people, right? So that you understand the business, and then you are able to analyze your data in a way that supports the business operations.
Right.
Have I answered your question?
Yes, madam.
Okay, cool.
So,
I believe at this point, we can get started with today's lesson, right? Usually we are 50 plus and so on. Currently we are 37. We can't continue waiting for them. We spent about 18 minutes, almost 20 minutes. So let's zoom into today's lesson, right? Now, today we are going to focus on BI, like business intelligence, architecture, and data warehousing. So what we are basically going to look at is how data actually moves from the raw, messy world into the clean dashboards and reports that managers use to make decisions. All right. So by the end of this session, we want to understand it is our goal to understand the full journey of data from collection all the way to dashboards, right? To Power BI dashboards that we can then make our reports from. Okay, yes, there is a hand. Emmanuel.
hello, madam.
Hi.
So, with regards to the recorded videos you did on the platform,
Yeah,
the raw data we work with to the level that we inserted some pivot tables and also some charts.
yeah.
So in a case whereby you are, at the ETL stage of the Power BI, are you supposed to take out all these charts that you did and then upload the raw data into Power BI? Because I know Power BI too, you can also do data cleaning at the
Absolutely.
yeah. So are you supposed to take out all the pivot tables and the charts you performed on the Excel sheet, or you leave it like that and upload it?
Okay, so in just like you mentioned, you can do data cleaning in Power BI, right? And that is the stage that you mentioned, ETL. You have the ETL and then ELT. We'll look at those terms in detail today. So when you are in Power BI, what you do is you upload the data, the raw data. Then you either transform it and load, or load and transform. So transform basically is just standardizing it, right? Maybe there are some errors in it. You have maybe inconsistencies, like the data set you created manually. Maybe with that one, we were focusing on creating a clean data, so you don't find any errors in there.
Yeah.
But in real world, you not have that luxury, right? You may have errors in there. So let's take the region again, for example. You'd have in one cell, maybe it's written Greater Accra. In another cell, it's written Accra, right? It is now your job to standardize it, because if you don't standardize it to maintain maybe Greater Accra all throughout or Accra all throughout, and you leave this Greater Accra and then Accra value in there, Power BI is going to treat these two values as separate values. So if you are drawing a power chart or a bar chart, any other chart that you want to visualize this data, maybe you want to see the region that most of our suppliers, the region with most suppliers, and you have Greater Accra, you have Kumasi, you have Ashanti region. Power BI would not know that Greater Accra is the same as Accra and Kumasi is in the Ashanti region. It's going to give you let's say you are using pie charts. It's going to give you 4 separate slides within the pie chart. So if it is 100%, it could give Accra 50%, maybe Greater Accra 30% based on the number of errors in there or the percentage of errors in there. That is why it is important to transform your data in Power BI. So Power BI has this ability, right? Right when you load your data, it will ask you whether you want to transform it before you load it, or you want to load it. So when you load it and you realize that there are errors in the data sets, you still have the option to go back and then transform it, right? Power BI is like a modern tool, and most modern cloud storage systems, they give you that flexibility to load your data and then transform it later on. Unlike traditional settings where you have to load it, transform it. You have to transform it before you load it. So we'll be looking at that moving forward.
Right.
All right, cool. So let me share my screen real quick. Da 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 da. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so like I mentioned, we are going to look at Power BI architecture and data warehousing. Such big words over there, but not so big. We'll try to understand it. So what we are doing is that we are basically, yes, I've stated the objective. So by the end of this session, we should understand the end-to-end Power BI pipeline. So wherever you see BI, it's just a short form of business intelligence. So we are going to learn how data is processed, right? That is the ETL and then the ELT process. Then we understand data warehousing. Then we have this concept OLAP, and then another concept which we'll get into. We are going to grab those concepts in the BI pipeline or architecture or warehouse. Then we'll look at how to build and interpret a star schema. First of all, it'll be an introduction into what star schema is, what it means, and then the key details we need to note over there. And we look at how all of this connects to Power BI. Right. So let's look at the Power BI pipeline, the business intelligence pipeline. Definitely you need a source. That is where your data is coming from, right? So think of it this way. You are building a house, right? You need to know where your materials comes from, right? Where you're getting your materials. So that is the source. And then we have the processing. And this is where we have the ETL/ELT concepts. And then we look at storage. So from the source, right, you can get data from multiple sources, which we'll look at very soon. From the source, it gets processed. From processed, it gets stored, right? Now, once in BI, Power BI, you can model your data, right? And this is where you find relationships between, first of all, let me clarify this. When you have one data set, just one single data set, like the one we generated with the Excel, you can't model it, right? But when you have two or more data sets, then you can model it. That is the Power BI is going to look at the relationship between the first data sets. So not just any random data sets that have relationships, right? So Power BI will intelligently look at the relationship between the first data sets and the second data set. If there is a third or fourth, the number of data sets that you load into Power BI, it is going to look at the relationship. If there is any, right, then you model it. Now, once you have this, it gives you you have the opportunity to look at it in a broader way, right? If it's just one, you can gain insights. But when you have more data set, let's say you have a data set for Q1, right? You load that in, and then there is Q2, right? Then there's Q3, and then maybe you have like a data set of the procurement. I mean, was it last week or 2 or 3 weeks ago when someone mentioned that maybe you're drafting out a contract with a supplier and you take these key details like their price, delivery time, and so on. That could be like a data that you have stored in there, right? It could be your BAT data. And then you have operational database. I mean, operational data on these suppliers. That is, as and when they supply you data, they supply you goods, you take note of maybe the date, the time, the price, the quantity. So that becomes like operational data sets. So when you bring these two data sets into Power BI, now it's going to create a relationship between the main data sets that you have and these supporting data sets for you to see how each supplier you get insight, you gain insight from this supplier based on performance, based on I mean, virtually anything that you want to see, based on the questions that you want to answer. These data sets would enable you to have to do this data sets. Now, once we've been able to model these data sets, we can now go on and create visualizations. So visualizations is basically creating charts or communicating your findings using what? A chart, because these charts are colorful, they are visual, they are sort of like images. So it makes it easier for whoever is reviewing the dashboard or the reports to grab the information you are sending across more more easily, and then it sort of sticks with them rather than reading like going through a huge mountainous rows of data set. I mean, you can't really get any insights. But if all of this have been captured in like snapshots of visuals with each visual telling you something, then you're able to understand it much quicker and then make decisions from it. Right. So the BI pipeline simply takes the journey from data, right? It takes us from its source all the way to a visual report, right? So yes, we've been using Malcolm a lot. And once again, let's use Malcolm again. So it's like Malcolm receiving goods from multiple suppliers, right? So that is the source. The goods arrive, and then that is the source. They are inspected and sorted, right? So that's the process, and then they are stored in a warehouse. Then that becomes the store, in the storage, and arranged on shelves by category. So you have maybe all furniture in here. You have cosmetics in there, groceries in there, and what have you. And finally, like when these are displayed in the shop for customers to see, that is visualization. So just think of it that way. But as we move through this program, as we move on, I believe we'll have a better understanding of this pipeline, like in real world. All right. Any question at this point? Any question at this point? All right, sure. Right. So you realize we said that the data pipeline starts with sources. So let's look at data sources. Where do we get our data from? Right? Where do we get our data from? So these are multiple sources that we get our data from. So we can start, we can get data from Excel files. I mean, data could be organized, arranged in Excel files, like we did with the last week, I mean, the previous week lessons that we've been having. That is because most businesses organize their data in Excel or a spreadsheet. Nowadays, people are moving more into CRM systems. And when we say CRM, we are talking about customer relationship management systems. And a typical example is HubSpot CRM. Who has heard of HubSpot CRM? So yeah, there's HubSpot CRM, there's Salesforce. There are so many CRM tools. Even Excel is a CRM tool. It's just you tracking your customers for maybe their first interaction, how they visited your shop, they bought from you, or maybe they made inquiries, right? Maybe from first point of contact, they made inquiries, and from the inquiries, they then move on to purchase. They become a part of your business. You are able to track their movements within your business. So that is basically what CRM does. It helps you have an eye on your customers. I mean, how they move within the organization, how they interact with your business. Then we have ERP systems, right? So ERP basically stands for Enterprise Resource Planning, right? So enterprise resource planning data is used inside business intelligence. And when we get into Power BI, we are going to see all the ways that we could bring in Power BI. Like I said, Power BI is a modern tool. So it's trying to integrate with other tools, make it possible for you to bring in data from multiple sources into Power BI to analyze your data. So ERP collects the raw data like your orders, your expenses, your stock level, and so on. And then when it connects it to Power BI, it now pulls the data out and you are able to analyze the data, visualize it to see information such as maybe suppliers by region this quarter or last month, or which supplier do we get the best profits when we engage with them, right? So this tool is plugged right into, you in Power BI, it means that your business intelligence tool, right, is plugged into your ERP system to run operational data into insights, right? And then we also have API, which is application programming services. This is a bit technical, but let me try to break it down. So let's say it's like you, right? You are one app or one site, and then you have the kitchen. So the kitchen is also another app. And then there is the waiter who takes your orders. So the waiter takes the orders from you. You tell the waiter what you want to buy and then what you want to get. Then the waiter goes into the kitchen and brings you exactly, what you ordered. So you don't go to the kitchen yourself, right? So the API handles the rules on both sides so that you stay organized. So I'm sure when you interact with the internet, and I'm not too sure whether I've taken notes, but when you want to extract data from the site, API is behind it, right? So let's say you log into Google. So the site, which is the Google API, confirms who you are, right? I don't know if I've made this, but you don't really need to know these technical terms. All what you need to know is like, it's a source that you could get data from. And then we have the almighty databases. So databases are a source, yeah, Emmanuel.
Madam, is it the one that when you are trying to open, most especially some the site that some official site where they will ask you to verify if you are human or robot? Is it that thing?
Yeah, verify whether you are human or robot. So whatever
Yeah.
info, I mean, you are accessing the site, right? So let's take it this way. You are accessing the site, right? You want an information from, let's say, Google. So you enter your information and then the information gets to you. I mean, you don't see what goes on in the background. That is why I'm trying to use a restaurant analogy. So let's say you go to the restaurant, you order, right? You go to KFC or Papaya, you place your order and then they bring it to you. You don't know, I mean, it's you don't know what is going on in the kitchen. All what you care for is your food and then it has been brought to you, right? So that is the work of the API. So the API is there to present you that data without being visible. You don't really see it. And this is where lots of people, I mean, you can track data from lots of sites with the help of APIs because they, I mean, look at the waiter, right? The waiter has access to you and then the kitchen so that you don't have to do anything. So that is the work of the APIs and it's a source where we get our data from. When you go into technical data analysis where you have to mine data and all these things, then yes, the APIs become very relevant to you. You understand it well how to use it to gain insights, right? But at this business intelligence level, I think the most important tool or the tool you'll be using frequently will be Excel, CRM systems lately because it's very, very relevant nowadays. And then databases. Databases has been there from ages of ages. So yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's talk about databases a bit. So database is a place where we store we store data, right? So it's also with databases, we have databases that store structured data, and then we have databases that store unstructured data like text, images, and so on, right? And some example include MySQL or SQL. Yeah, so SQL stands for Structured Query Language. And under SQL, you have so many types. You have the MySQL, Cassandra, MongoDB, and all those. All these are databases. They store data for you so that you can access them later on. Okay, now let's look at the data processing layer, how we process data. So I think I keep on saying this, data doesn't come in the cleanest form. So once, I mean, when we look at the overview, we also saw that one of the BI workflow is after collecting data, you transform the data. So this is where like majority of the work is. You spend time to remove your errors, and before you even try to clean your data, you should spend some time with the data, review it carefully to see the kind of transformation it needs. If you notice that in one column, there are mixes of capital letters, I mean, you have one cell that is full of capital letters, another cell that is full of small letters, another cell with mixed capital letters. You want to standardize that so that all the values in that column have the same format. So let's take our region again, for example. You realize that some of the errors that could happen is that maybe for one of the regions, maybe Accra, it is written with capital letters all throughout. Then you go to another Accra, it is written in small letters. Then you see another Accra within the same data sets by maybe a different supplier, and then that one is written with a capital letter at the beginning and then followed by small letter, I mean the proper writing system. So you have to spend time with the data, look at what is wrong with the data before you clean it. Because sometimes if you don't clean your data properly, I mean, you don't spend some time to understand the errors and you clean it, you will find yourself that you have actually given yourself more work than you usually should, because if you had spent maybe some time to look at it, it probably might not be an error, right? Let's say we all know that cement is around 50 Ghana cedis. I'm not too sure, but let's just say that that is the range. And then in your data set, you notice that this particular one is sold at 38 cedis or 35 cedis. I mean, you using the knowledge you have on the prices of cement, you'll be tempted to clean that data set and change the price from maybe 35 to 50. When in fact, maybe if you have questioned it a bit, right? So you should be patient as well. If you had questioned it a bit, maybe you could find out that there was a promo that went on. So the price is not an error, but right, rather a promo price, right? So again, when you are at this data processing stage, this is where most of the work goes on. And when it is not done properly, your analysis will be flawed. And once your analysis is flawed, whatever insights that you give to a business, if they work with it, I mean, is going to really hurt the business, because that's not the true reflection of what is happening with the business, because our data was inaccurate, right? So you remove errors as part of your data processing if there are any. You standardize the formats, and then combining data sets, right? So let's say you have a data set for Q1 and Q2, Q3, Q4. You can put all of this to one to have like a year data set so that you see the trend, right? So that will give you how your data operates. I mean, what's your business, how your business operates, or the patterns, the trends in your data over a year or two or more, right? So these are some of the things that you can do. And then also, let's say currencies, right? So you can standardize you can format it to reflect your actual currency. If you operate in different currencies, they need to take note, right? So that if maybe a supplier, you deal with a supplier in USD, you make sure you don't transform everything to cedis, right? I mean, based on what the organization wants again. So you need to work closely with the stakeholders in the business to understand their needs, how they want it. Maybe they deal with so many currencies, but when they are summing up their revenue or their income, they want to see it in Ghana cedis or USD only. So yes, if that is their ask, what they are asking you, one of their requests, and you have the data scattered in USD, pounds, maybe cedis, naira, and so on, it is part of your analysis to convert this into a standard, into what do you call it, CD, and that is also another form of standardizing your data sets, right? So you don't just clean data sets, make sure you consult, right? So that whatever analysis you do, it reflects what the business wants, right? Okay, now let's move on to the ETL process. Now that we have processed our data, we've seen the processing, some of the cleaning we can do, or the processing we can do with our data sets. Let's look at the ETL process. So the ETL, as we can see, stands for extract, transform, load. So E for extract, T for transform, and L for load. So let's look at extraction. I mean, with what we've done so far, we have generated our data sets, but you can actually extract data sets from a source. So let's say you are in Microsoft Excel, right? And the data has been sent to you, maybe through email, right? So you download it from there, maybe it's in an Excel format or CSV, comma separated value. You download it. When you are in Microsoft Excel, you go into data sources, then you bring the data from your local machine onto your into your Excel environment. When you do that, you are extracting your data. The same thing with Power BI. In Power BI, you can't do anything in Power BI without data. So when it gets into Power BI, before you're able to do anything, you need to bring in data. So when you're bringing in data, that is the extraction. You are extracting it from whatever source it is and bringing it into Power BI. Now, Power BI is a product of Microsoft Excel. So some of the features, it has similar features, but they perform different functions. But with Excel and Power BI, there is a common feature that these two platforms have, which is called the Power Query Editor. So Power Query Editor helps you to clean your data really fast, right? At first, you may use functions and formulas to try to clean your data sets. But with the Power Query Editor, you can do that using simple buttons, using simple clicks, which will look at, if not, I mean, if we have the time today, we'll do. If not, then we'll push it to next week, or I will make a video on that and load it to the contents. I mean, the LMS. Okay, so I've covered the extraction process. Then we come to transformation. So what the Power Query Editor does is it helps you to transform. Oh, light out. Give me a second. Okay. No worry, let's move on. So it helps you to transform your data by cleaning the errors pretty much faster, right? So transformation basically means you are changing the data in its raw, messy state into a clean, usable state. And when that is done, you can load it, right? And someone may ask that, what happens when you load the data and you notice that there's an error in there that you have to clean? With a modern technology like Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Power BI, even if you have loaded the data set into Power BI and you notice that there's an error in there, you can come back to transform it. And that leads us to the next process, which is the ELT, right? ELT, just like the ETL, is extract, transform, load. Then ELT is for extract, load, and transform. So they do the same thing, right? Don't try to get yourself confused or try to I don't know how to say, try to worry yourself about this. It's the same thing. They all do the same thing. It's just that the order is quite different. So with the ETL, you transform before you load. But with the ELT, you load before you transform. And this is what modern cloud storage systems provide us. Okay, so let's look at the differences between ELT. So like I said, with ETL and ELT, ETL, you transform before you load, and ELT, you load before you transform, which is like a more modern approach compared to ETL, which is more traditional. Okay. Before we move on to the next, do we have any concerns, any clarifying questions before we move on?
Hello, madam.
Okay. Yeah, hi.
For the Power Query
Yeah.
in the Power BI, I heard
Yeah.
you mention that for that one there is you will not go through more formulas and those things. It's just few clicks and touch to get it done. So I stand to be corrected. I've come across some of the things that I was doing in Power BI where there were some things that I have to, type before I'll be able to get it. It's like the way you type the formulas and things in Excel. I don't know if it's the same thing or for Power Query. I'm sorry, Power Query. It is only the clicks. If I've come across something like that, that when you open the Power Query, you just have to type some things and some formulas will come in. I stand to be corrected on that.
All right, thanks for your question. So the Power Query editor we have in both Microsoft and Excel, there are just a few clicks. And whatever formula you need to enter to get a transformation done, Power Query Editor has made it simple for you. So you don't have to now type formulas. You can just open any of the windows. I really hope we get to that point so that we see how it works around. You just click on a window. Maybe you want to create a new, okay, good. Let's use the order date and delivery date that we did, right? Where we subtracted delivery date from order date to get the day it took for the order to be the order to arrive, right? In Power BI, you notice that in Excel, the traditional way, we had to use formulas, right? In Power Query Editor, it opens up a window for you. Then it asks you, what do you want to do, right? So you tell it, I want to subtract, I want to create a new column. So that becomes a conditional column because the column is based on a condition that you want to, it wants it to satisfy. So you want to tell it that I want to create a new column that is going to house the day it took for the delivery to arrive. So I'm going to take the order date from the delivery date to create this new column. And without entering any formula, it is going to get it done for you. Now, that is the transformation stage. But when we get into Power BI and we are analyzing, right? Let's say we want to calculate the the total price of supplies that a supplier delivered. Okay, so let's say they delivered 500 bags of cement at 50 Ghana cedis. You have other suppliers that have done the same thing, right? In Power BI, you are going to do a few calculations. Then again, it's not complex like Excel because as you type, once you load your data and then you type, Excel is Power BI is going to look at the moment you're talking about maybe summary like sum or average, then it knows that you're going to talk about a column that involves numbers. So it will intelligently pop those columns out for you to select, right, without doing much formulas, even though you'll be doing formula, but not as complex as in a traditional Microsoft Excel. And that is called data analysis expression, or DAX for short.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. All right. So let's move on to data warehouse. I don't think there's much to be said over here because we already know what data is. And then I'm sure we also know what a warehouse is. So tell me, what is data warehouse in your own language?
Obviously, where data are being stored.
Right. So it's simple and short, where data is stored, right? It's a central system used to store structured or clean data for warehousing and for storing, for reporting. Now, you realize that I said we have lots of cloud storage systems around. Microsoft's like this. I know they have OneLake, is it Microsoft Fabric? These are large cloud storage systems, right? And they are modern tools. So they give you you have the extraction stage, the transformation stage, then you load it. And you can reference this when you are in Fabric. Right now, I think they've integrated everything that you can do. You can do a lot with that without much effort. people, they're realizing that right now most businesses are leveraging data. We are generating data. So people want to know what their data is telling them. So business intelligence or data analytics to gain intelligence from your data has become imperative. And not everyone has that coding ability, right? When you are traditionally, you have to put in a lot of code to write long lines of code, especially if you are in SQL. You need to write long lines of code to pull a data or clean a data. But right now, they're trying to simplify it because most businesses, data analysis has become second nature to businesses. So they're trying to simplify everything by making it easy for you to make sense of your data without having to code. So if you look at, I don't know, if you look at SQL very well, you may be coding in there, right? And even Excel, the things you've been writing, if this plus this is equal to this, is coding but not technical coding. We call that like pseudo code, right? Before we have the technical code. So all what these platforms are doing is to provide a simple way for you to make sense of your data, even without technical coding skills, right? So just like our brother just said, a data warehouse is a central system that we use to store structured, clean data for reporting. So what we need to know is that it's a central storage system. It stores structured data, and this is designed for analysis. Yes, I mean, if you have the data in there and you are not doing anything with it, why are you storing it in the first place? Okay. So we mentioned databases earlier. Let's look at databases and then data warehouse. Now, database is for like daily operations, right? These are very two important distinctions. So let's look at this. We have the database, which you can see this abbreviation OLTP. Now, OLTP stands for online transaction processing. Online transaction processes. I mean, in everyday business language, this is your day-to-day operational system, right? So, I mean, when we visit these shops, we see POS machines in there. So think of the POS machine as, let's say, Melcom, right? So every time a customer buys something, that transaction is recorded immediately. And then it needs to be fast at writing that data. So that is what the OLTP does. It handles daily operations pretty fast. So whatever transaction, whatever a customer purchases, that is recorded pretty fast into their database, right? Now let's look at the data warehouse, which is the OLAP. So this stands for online analytical processing. So by analytical, you should know that this is your analytical system, the one that answers questions like which region had maybe the highest sales last quarter, or which product category is growing fast, right? So with the database, it's just recording the daily transactions. And then this gets stored in your warehouse. So when you go into the warehouse, you are able to ask it questions like, I want to see like the high performing supplier, or the most expensive supplier, or the supplier that supplies on time, right? So that is what the OLAP is designed for. I mean, it's fast, it reads fast, right? It reads very fast across large volumes of historical data. So if you're using Melcom, again, as an example, you realize they have lots of branches, they're operating every day. So the POS is not their database recording their daily transactions, and this gets stored in the warehouse for further analysis. Yes, Emmanuel.
Hello, madam.
Yes, Emmanuel. Yeah.
So for I just want to understand something here for the OLTP and then the OLAP. I want to know the relationship between these two and the star schema.
The relationship and the what?
The relationship between the OLTP and then the OLAP, between the relationship between these two and then the star schema.
Okay. And the what? I'm not trying. You mentioned something at the end.
The star schema. The star schema.
Star schema. Okay, let's take it one after the other. So right now, let's focus on OLTP and OLAP, right? So OLTP, in short, it records the business.
Okay.
And then OLAP analyzes the business. So let's take Melcom, for example. Their POS that they're operating is their database, right? Once a customer buys, you scan, they take your money, give you balance, everything is recorded. What you bought, the price, the quantity you bought is recorded. That is their database, right? Now let's take the head office finance team of Melcom, right? Let's say the Melcom head office finance team pulls a report at the end of the month to analyze all branch performance, right? That is the work of the data warehouse, because all this information from Achimota branch, Ashama branch, Kumasi branch, all these transactions that went on has been connected, has been loaded to the warehouse, right? When you go to the Achimota branch and you are querying the database over there, the database over there, it can give you like a high level overview of everything that is going on, because this is just a database. It's just storing the transactions, the daily operations that is going on. But with the data warehouse, all the transactions that have gone on and are still going on are loaded in there, right? So when you want to pull like a monthly report, end of year reports, end of day reports, and ask any question, like what is the best performing branch? Which branch sold first? Maybe you can see that an item sells really well. You want to see whether the item performs across all branches, across all regions. That is what the OLP helps you do, right? Give me a moment. I think I've locked my father at the door. Let me open him real quick, right? Give me a moment. So you can think about these things while I'll be back shortly. Hi, I'm back. Sorry for that. So, Emmanuel, have I answered your question? Do you have a clear distinction between the database OLTP and the OLAP?
Yes, madam. And it was, I think it was, I asked together was one question, but I
The star
asked.
schema, we'll get to that shortly, right?
Okay.
It's about the star schema, right?
Yes, madam.
Yeah, we'll get to that shortly. Right. So just like we have said, in short, the OLTP reports the business, the daily transactions, while OLAP, the data warehouse, analyzes the business. So you need both, right? They serve very different purposes. Okay, now let's look at OLAP in action, right? the online analytical processing. What does it do? We know that it helps you analyze your business really fast. What does it do? It enables aggregation. So you are able to see the sum of all products sold, right? Maybe average. What's the average income? Still using Malcolm. Should we pay Malcolm or they should pay us? I don't know which is which. So let's say Malcolm, you can find maybe the average revenue a branch makes, right? So these are some of the questions that you can answer from. So OLAP gives analysts the power to look at the data from multiple angles, like you are turning a cube, right, around your hands. You're able to see this side and then this side. So instead of a slow spreadsheet calculation, where you can do something like maybe the sum of maybe one product, OLAP lets you instantly see sales by region, by sale time, or by sales products, because it has the power to move that fast, right? So let's imagine you work for this, and let's change it. Let's say you work for Casaprecon, right? The beverage company. So before they would employ data warehousing, the accountant would manually sum up sales figures by region by region, and that is very slow. But with OLAP, the system has already pre-calculated the totals, so all the manager can instantly ask is like, show me sales in Ashanti region for Q1 for maybe what are some of the beverages they produce? Do they produce Alomo bitters? I don't know. So let's say, okay, yeah. So let's say a manager can ask a question like, show me sales in Ashanti region for Q1 in 2024 for Alomo bitters, right? That is what the drill down means, right? So it helps you to drill down. I mean, instead of saying, oh, give me the sales price from Ashanti region, now you're asking specific questions. So you have the region, the quarter, and then the product, right? So you realize that we are not navigating through data from different dimensions instantly. And that is because it is your warehouse. It has all those information. So the moment you ask it this question, it pulls it out for you in a matter of seconds. And we can do this in Power BI, drilling down, aggregations, which will help us to see trends, slicing and all that. You can do those in Power BI. Any questions here?
Hello, madam.
Hi.
Yes, I just want to find out with the OLAP. So, for
Yeah.
instance, a company like Melcom, when you go there and you buy their products, you go and pay. Once you pay it, somebody receives it, and I'm sure that will be the daily one,
Yeah.
let's assume the daily sales that people go to the Melcom stores and then they buy. Those people who receive the monies, they do the daily ones. And then now when they take the money and then they record it on their systems, I want to find out, once they record it, it goes to the warehouse, and then now OLAP comes in.
Okay.
So whatever they have recorded can now be picked by anybody at the head office, that Melcom Sminters, Melcom Accra industrial area. They can see all the daily sales they've made. Is that what it means?
Yes, that is exactly what it means. So,
Okay.
but I mean, let me clarify one tiny little thing over there. So you're saying that when they enter the records and they take their money, that is transaction. The moment they enter the record, That is the whenever they enter what's the cut, normally they enter the products you buy, the quantity, and then they give you the total, right? So you will
Yes.
pay, and then if they need to give you balance, they do that. So these are
Okay.
all records. Once that transaction is complete and they hit enter, it goes into their data warehouse. So that transactions is still on their database at the stores, in their stores, it's still at their database. And then they have a warehouse at the back end where these transactions get pushed to. So
Okay.
let's say there is a manager at maybe the head office manager in charge of maybe procurement, supplies, and all that. So maybe their purpose will just be monitoring the products, right? We know businesses are in to make money. So as a manager, and let's say I am behind at the back end, monitoring the transactions that is going on. Over there, I know that this particular branch has maybe 100 pieces of idle milk, right? And maybe at about what do you call it? 10 o'clock, I realize, from what I see, it's left with about 12, right? With this past approach, with this modern approach, the manager will quickly, right, send for what do you call it, stock to be sent to that branch so that you don't run out of money. That is just one aspect of it. One importance of data warehousing. You are able to see it, it's online, right? So as and when the moment one item is taken off, it reduces from the total that you already have. So you know how things are going on across all branches. So you quickly restock when there is a need to. Now, when you need to create a report, right, you need to analyze, see where things, which one is performing, what the sales records are. That is the power of the data warehousing, because all your data lives in there, because the cashier from Achimota, they are making their entries, is getting fed into your data warehouse. For Melcom, even Achimota alone, we have 2 branches. Then we go to North Kanishi, then we go to what do you call it, Tema, all those areas. As they are making their transactions, they are entering these data into their database. It quickly moves into your data warehouse. So your data warehouse has all the information it needs to give you a report to answer your questions that you may have. So
Yes, madam.
yeah, I think
So
I need it.
yes, please. The other aspect is stock in and stock out. So behind the data as well, I'm sure there is a way somebody to pick like a stock out, let's say on the various shelves, the products that are being bought. That aspect, would that be the daily one, or that one to go to the, let's say, the warehouse?
That one will go
Or
to the warehouse, because from the warehouse, before the goods are even taken to the branches, you already know that you gave your plan maybe 100 pieces of 100 cartons or 100 things of ideal milk, right? You gave new plant this, you gave new plant that. In a non-traditional setting, like what do you call it? A system that we were running. Okay, let me use my personal experience. When I right from SHS, I worked as a sales assistant where we wholesale recharge cards. By then, we were not advanced in tools like this. So everything we're doing was manual, right? We go to the office very early where we take our stock. So there is a record. The stock guys knows the quantity for each of the cards, recharge cards they've given us. Then we take it to our various shops. The shops are spread out. So there is about 2 or 3 shops in Medina. There is another at Adensa. There is another at Kwabinya, Tema, Nungwa, Accra, Chimota, Circle, all these places, right? So let's say, I mean, Christmas is usually our peak hours where stocks move very fast. Mind you, all these shops do not have the same selling strength. Some areas, like Medina, that place is a market. It's living in the middle of a market. And then you have shops that are a bit far away from the market. So those shops do not see sales like quick sales like that compared to the lesser shops. So back then, what we do, let's say I am in a shop that is not performing, is not fast performing like those that are placed at advantaged areas. So those in advantaged areas, when they notice that their stocks are getting finished, they try to call the smaller shops around them to see if they still have stock, right? Let's say you are selling MTN 5 CDs worth of recharge cards and you notice it's getting finished. Then you reach out to the smaller shop that you know they have, right? Because they are around you, they can quickly bring it to you, then you sell. That is a traditional method, right? Now look at this. This is not recorded online. So before or back in the days, all you have to do is like you wait to see how the things are moving before you call what do you call it? The next shop that you think they have the goods and then they can supply you. That is a traditional method. But with the online method, looking at, I mean, if the business, if I don't know how they're operating nowadays, because I've left there so many years ago, I don't even know whether it's still in existence. Yeah, but so let's assume with the scenario that I gave, let's take it that Malcolm was operating in that era, right? They were operating locally or in a traditional way. And now they have expanded, they've grown, they have employed online data management systems. So as customers come in to buy, right? You enter, this person came in to buy maybe MTN 5, so there's maybe 10 pieces, and you started with 100 pieces. So the system will automatically, once you hit enter, it will automatically deduct the 10 pieces from the 100. So it knows that you have the 90 pieces over there. Then another person makes a purchase. Then as the one monitoring the movement or the sales of this item, they will see firsthand that the goods are moving fast. So they will quickly coordinate another employee to supply from their warehouse to the shop. Or if the one monitoring from the back end notices that, okay, maybe you at Neoplan branch, it is not moving that fast. So they still have a number of stock. And Achimota branch is moving fast. As a business owner, right, it makes sense for you to move the goods from from Achimota to Neoplan. Let's say the warehouse is at maybe Accra Central, right? It will be a lot quicker to move the goods from Neoplan to Achimota, so that by the time you get there, I mean, they still have a few goods left before it totally runs out. That way, the shop that is not performing is supported. The goods do not get stuck. You are able to move that good, right? Looking at it in that way, compared to maybe you have to move the good from the warehouse. If both shops are selling, they're moving fast, that is fine. But if they are not moving fast, right, it will make a lot of sense to move it from Achimota to Neoplan because the distance to cover is very short. The time to get there is very, very fast, very quick than maybe moving it from your main warehouse. So someone at the back end monitoring this, I mean, I want to believe that those monitoring it have different, they are looking at so many things, not just for reporting. For daily transactions, they are looking at who is moving, where they're monitoring stock levels so that you don't completely run out before you reach out, you go and restock the supplies. And then when it comes to generating reports, imagine you don't have a data warehouse in place. That means you have to manually, just like the Cataprecon insight that I gave, you want to see the sales for Q1 from the Ashanti region in maybe 2024, right? If you don't have a data warehouse, an online data warehouse operation in place, then you have to do this manually, right? Which will take a lot of time. So what the OLAP helps you do is that because it is online, it refreshes each and every time, or it changes each and every time the data changes. Once an item is bought, it is deducted from the stock level you have so that you see an accurate real-time stock level of what is going on in the shop, right? So before, just like I use the Casaprecon example, before you have an OLAP in place, you'll be calculating this manually, which is very, very slow. But once you have OLAP in space and OLAP in action, all you need to do is to enter, show me the total income or revenue generated for maybe Voltic mineral water in Q1 of 2025 from maybe Central region, right? It will give it to you in a split second compared to when you don't have this in place and you have to do manual calculation. So this is pretty fast. You have control or real-time overview of your stock levels. And then when it comes to creating a report, you can do that really fast. Is that clear? Is that understood?
Yes, boss. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now let's move on to somebody's favorite, a star schema, right? Someone was asking what the difference is. So a star schema is a way of organizing your data into a simple structure that is optimized for analysis, right? So just like we have just said, it's a smart way, right? Simple and smart way to organize your data inside the warehouse. So it is easy for you to query it and analyze it. Now, the name star schema comes from how it looks, right? It looks like a star, which we'll look at very soon. So you have this one big table in the center, right? Which is called the fact table. And around it are several smaller tables. Just like the star has this spread out wings. Yeah, just imagine that spread out wings. That is how the smaller tables that we call the dimension tables are spread out around the main star, just like the point of a star. So it places like a central table in the middle at the core, then it's surrounded by related dimensional table, making it easy for you to query your data, right? So let's look at the facts table versus the dimension table before we look at the structure, right? Wait, before I move on, is it clear over here or we should move on? Okay, let's move on to maybe the structure and then maybe along the line, I'll answer your question. If at that point, your question hasn't been addressed, you let me know. Okay, so we have the facts and then the dimension tables. And like I said earlier, the fact is at the core, is at the middle of it. It contains numerical data or metrics, right? It records transactions or events. Then we use this for calculations, example, sales, quantity, and so on. Now, it's at the center of this star, right? But the dimension table on the other side, it contains descriptive data, which gives you context, right? It describes the who, the what, the when, and the where. And we use this for filtering and grouping data. And just imagine the stars, when you're drawing a star, or when you see a drawn star, you see the way the points are around a star. That's how the dimension table or the smaller table surrounds the facts. Okay, now think of it this way, right? Let's say a supermarket like Malcolm again in Accra, right? The receipts that is the receipt at the till, when you buy the receipt that they present to you, is the facts, right? Now the receipt captures informations like the transactions number, right? When you buy from Melcom, you see your transaction number, the amount, the quantities, but quantities that you purchased. But to fully understand that receipt, you need to know who bought it, right? Who bought it and what was bought, when was it bought, where, you understand. So those are your dimensions surrounding these facts. The fact of the matter is an item was purchased, but you want to know who bought what. This is where you have, in some data set, you have customer ID, product ID, that will tell you the product that was purchased, right? You see when it was bought, the dates, and even the time. When you look at your the tool that is being given to you when you make a purchase at Melcom, you can see the dates and the actual time, right? Now, let's try to make this a bit clearer. The facts table we have over here is like your transaction log, right? It records number of still using Milkom, and then what product should we use? Today we are using milk. Okay, let's go with milk. So this records the number of milk sold, right? The revenue amount, and then the discounts given. Good. You realize with Milkom, they sometimes have gifts, vouchers. You attend events, maybe work, someone can give you a gift voucher, right? And then you purchase with this gift voucher. Maybe you added some money to make this voucher. All these will be deducted, right? These are facts that are surrounding the item that was purchased. All these will be deducted. So that's these are like pure numbers that you can calculate with. So you take, if it was a promotion, you take out the promo price and everything, like it's a fact, right? Something that is stated, a fact about it. Then the dimension table that we have, it gives you context to those numbers, right? So who bought the milk, right? I don't think in Ghana we have customer ID. I don't think so. Maybe we've not taken note of it. I'm sure you certainly have a customer ID. It'll be somewhere on the receipt. So it will tell you who bought the.
Is that different from? Is it different from the receipt number?
Yes, I want to believe that over here, here we don't take so much data. But in the Western world, they take a lot of data. And then in as much as they are taking this relevant data, they try to hide the true identity to make sure these data, no one can look at the data and then trace who exactly it is. So instead of writing the person's name, they write a customer ID. But let's take a more, something that actually requires you entering your name. Maybe you are making a purchase for a car, right? So when you are purchasing a car, and you want to know who bought what, I'm sure you know that, okay, for maybe Kantanka, one of the Kantanka cars, it was bought by maybe John Dumelu. The name is there, right? Then which car model? Maybe Okatechi or whatever, I don't know. So yes, it can give you the car model that was but, and this can be found from maybe the product table. So for you to have insights to get all this information, you need to bring the facts table and these dimension tables together. So something like the customer name, for items like cars, houses, and co, like real estate properties, they take your name, your contact number, your location, your address, your email address, maybe next of kin, the payment method you use. All this goes under the customer table, right? And then you also have the products that you're selling. Let's say you are into real estate or cars. So let's take cars, for instance. Let me not use Kantanka because I don't know their brand, so I may not give a clearer picture. But let's use like the cars that we have. We know we have Toyota, right? So for your product table, you have all the products you're selling in there. So you have the brand Toyota. Under Toyota, there is Corolla, there is Camry, there is RAV4, there is Land Cruiser, there is da 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 da. So if you take someone like John Dumelo, who is the customer, right? Who bought what? When you go in there, you're going to find John Dumelo bought. What did he buy? That can be found under the product table. He bought maybe Toyota RAV4, right? Maybe 2025 model. So anything concerning the product or the car becomes the product table. So you have the car, the brand, the model, the year, maybe the liter capacity, engine capacity. I don't know too more. I mean, let me leave that to you, the guys. But you get what I'm saying, right? So all these falls under the dimension table, right? And then you come to the branch, maybe which of the branches was this purchase made of? You have all your branches over there, right? So maybe under your branch, you have what are some of the car shops, like the popular car shops that we know of that have branches across the country? I don't know, Vinny. Just and I expect the guys to help me out. Right, so I believe you understand. Okay. So you cannot understand the numbers without the context. That is why the facts table and the dimension table work together. So the fact sits in the center that, okay, customer ID, maybe John Dumelo bought a car at this price, you have the date and time and so on. But if you want to know what car model of the car that you bought, you can find the car model from a product table because you have all the product listed, you have all the brands, you have Toyota, Nissan, Honda, Hyundai, and so on. Then under all these brands, you have their various models under it. So this facts table sits in the center and the dimension table surround it, forming a star. So let's look at how the structure looks like, right? How it looks like in like a real world business settings. So you have the facts table over here. So you have the date, the product, customer ID, location, sales amount, quantity, discount amount, and then profits, right? So this is the fact sitting at the middle. And then you have the dimension table. So let's take the dates, which will reveal the full dates, the day, the month, right? And you can even break it into quarters or years, right? Then you have the customer table, where it reveals the customer's name, the gender, age group, segment, city, right? And I think what you can, those United Nations, these NGOs, when they're taking data, they take like every minute data you can think of. So you have all this information in there, present in there. So you have the date dimension, customer dimension, then you have the sales channel, right? Maybe the item was purchased in store or online, right? Then you have the product. So yeah, like Malcolm, like this, they sell a lot of products, but all these products can be put into categories. They have hand wash, liquid soap, detergents, parasol, all these can be grouped under maybe laundry, right? And then they also sell wardrobe, beds, office chairs, and things. This can be grouped under furniture. Then they have items like rice, oil, milk, Milo. These you can put them under maybe groceries, right? Then we even have the brands. You get it. So this become like the products table, giving you information about the product. Then let's come to location. So with the way Malcolm is spread out across the country, so you have maybe the region, right? I don't know if Malcolm has other branches international, but something like ShopRite. We know there's a branch in South Africa, and then there's Ghana. I don't know of other countries. So they can take it at a country level. So, okay, we are looking at ShopRite Ghana, right? Their performance. And under ShopRite Ghana, we also have regions. There's ShopRite in what do you call it? In Ghana, in Accra, Kumasi, is there any? Then the malls that we have. So if there is a mall at, let's say, Takrade Mall, if we have ShopRite in there, we have ShopRite at the Accra Mall, even Accra Mall, we have Accra Mall and then the Achimota Mall, and then maybe the Kumasi Mall. So when you put this together, you know that you are getting data from all these branches, right? So imagine there is nothing like OLAP. There is no online analytical process, right? That means the manager sitting at the top, at the country level, right? No, on top of the country, wants to see how the countries are performing. So that means he has to start from city, right? City will collate and then they'll give it to region. Regions come together, they'll sum it up, then they give it to let's say the country before the country push it to the top. So let's say if ShopRite is collecting information from Ghana, Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Liberia, South Africa, and all those things, that is a whole lot of manual work going in there. But with the data warehouse, which is online, they are able to analyze this data from all these places at a go if they want to know what is going on in Accra or Achimota Mall, ShopRite, to be able to get that information real quick. So this is the fact table, like the receipts that I mentioned, right? And then this receipt will reveal maybe the customer, the product they purchased, the date and time, the branch, and so on. If now when we put all these together, I want to extract insight from it, then we are going to look at maybe the branch, which exact branch it is coming from, the products, which category does it fall under, right? So this is the fact, and all these are, right, the dimension table that we can use to gain insight from it. Any questions at this point? Mr. Star Schema. Okay. Now we have seen what the star schema structure looks like. Now, let's see how all of this connects to Power BI. So we looked at the BI pipeline from sources to processing to storage and then to visualization. So this is how it connects to Power BI. With Power BI, you load your data, whether it's from a CRM or an Excel sheet. You even have the options to manually enter data in Power BI because you cannot do anything without data in Power BI. Now, when you load the data, then you move on to the processing, which is transforming, and that is where we leverage the Power Query editor, right? It makes you clean your data pretty fast. Then we model our relationships. Now, this is where the star schema comes in. You have your facts table and then your dimension table. So multiple data sets. One is your facts, it giving you information about one data set is the facts table because it has all the information, like a snapshot of the information. Then you have the supporting data set or the dimension data set, which reveals insights about regional sales, the customer, the product, right? You create a relationship and you are able to create a relationship. You are able to model. You're able to model relationships in Power BI when there is a link, right? When there is something that links the facts table to the dimension table, right? So when you come here, the fact table, you can see date ID, product ID, customer ID, location ID. So the date ID helps you to link the date dimension table because you have the date ID over here. So the date ID under the date becomes your primary key, right? And then this is the foreign key. We'll look at that later on. And then the customer ID, there is customer ID here. So that is how we are able to link the two. Then we have location ID over here. That is how you are able to link it. And then you have product ID over here. So for you to establish a relationship between modules, you first of all, there has to be something here that is actually here, right? So that you can link it. If that is not the case, you will not be able to you'll not be able to model the relationship to gain insights into your data. So Power BI is only as good as your data model, and it's just like this saying that goes that garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you feed it is going to produce output based on what you feed it. So once you create a great model, that is where you're going to gain insights into your data. You get full leverage of Power BI. If it's not good, I mean, just take it as it is. It is as good only as your data module. All right. Now let's bring all of this together. All right. From our sources to the ELT, ETL, let's put everything together in one final picture over here. So your data starts from sources, right? It could be Excel, CRM, CSV, databases, whatever it is, whatever sources, into the transformation stage, right? So you can either transform and load or load and transform, the ETL stage. That is where you clean and validate your data, right? Then it lands into the warehouse. So this is like your central, it is centrally stored and then integrated. Now, once your data is processed and brought in here, then you are able to create a relationship between the data sets. So that is where the relationship comes to play. Once it's structured, it's clean, you push it from the processing to the warehouse, and then the star schema is integrated over here, it's organized over here. Right. Then this enables your multi-dimensional analysis, right? Because it now has data from, it now has a facts table, the dimensional table. So you are able to ask questions like which product at what time, and then at which branch, right? And then finally, your dashboard. So once it passes through all these things, you model query, and then you come here. You can't just give information like the spreadsheets or how it's structured in columns and rows. as an information to a stakeholder, they will not really capture the message you are putting across. But when you visualize it, then they are able to see KPIs, like they are able to see charts. Okay, one is high. It's going to call their attention rather than going through rows and rows and rows of spreadsheets. So data flows from multiple sources. It gets transformed, right? It's stored, and then it's structured for analysis, which delivers insights. So to actually turn raw data into meaningful intelligence that drives better decisions, you need to go through these processes, right? The whole goal of going through all these things is to turn raw, messy data into meaningful intelligence that a business can make decision from, and that is what power business intelligence is about, right? So yeah, let's look at it over here. So the data flows from multiple sources through transformation and storage, structured for efficient analysis, that's the star schema, then explored in multiple dimensions and delivered multiple dimensions over here and delivered as insights through interactive dashboard. Okay. Any questions at this point? Any questions at this point? I'll be loading this slide onto the LMS so that you explore with a lecture notes so that it all comes together. Okay, now we have about 10 minutes to go. Let's see if we can quickly go into Power BI. The place is quiet. Are we here?
Yes, madam, we are with you.
Yeah, I'm following.
Okay. All right, sure. So I'm trying to open up Power BI. And let's see if we can just explore the interface. Let me show the screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Hi, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, yes, please. Yes, please.
Thanks. So this is Power BI. I will send a resource on how to get Power BI, but please download from the website and not the store, the Microsoft Store. Download from the official Microsoft websites. I find that you are able to easily work with the one from the site than the store, even though it's the same thing. There are some slides differences. So anytime I'm teaching and someone has from the store, from the west, I notice a slight differences. Whilst we are here, we are exploring an interface. There's a slightly different, and we want to be on the same page. So please download from the official Microsoft websites. I'll put a resource there on how we can get Power BI. Right. So when you get into Power BI, this is what the interface will look like. So you can see a blank report, one lake catalog. This is like a cloud storage, then Excel workbook. It integrates to Excel, SQL Server. There are some sample data sets then you can get from other sources, right? So let's go to open, right? Over here, you see some of the things that I've worked with, right? But for us to actually work, let's open a blank page, right? So this is what Power BI looks like. This thing, okay. This is what Power BI looks like. And just like we explored the Excel interface, we will explore the same thing over here. So right now we are in home where we can get data. Now let's click on get data over here. These are all the sources you can get data from. All these places you can get data from Excel workbook, which is the commonest. So I'm not surprised it's number 1 on the list. Then Power BI semantic modules, data flows, Dataverse, SQL servers. These two are Microsoft products. SQL servers, analysis servers, text/CSV. So if you have data that you've organized in a text, and then you've separated them by maybe a colon, a space, comma, full stop, you can bring it in here and you can work with it. You can also connect it to the web, get data from the web. And with this one, what happens is that whenever the data on the web changes, it's going to affect the reports because it's a connection. Then you have the data feed, blank query, a whole lot. And when you click on more, you are going to see even more. So many, right? I'm sure we've heard of Access. It's one of Microsoft's products. It's no longer popular like before. But yes, they have MySQL database, IBM, air hosts like plenty. These are all sources. So you can see that what we looked at, we only scratched the surface. These are a whole lot. So there's this one, ERM. There's this ERM. Let me see if we can find. So you can search for a source over here. Let's say HubSpot. We can't find HubSpot. Okay, let's say Salesforce. All right, so there's Salesforce. Oh, there's even LinkedIn Navigator over here. So you can pull data from all the sources. So once you select your source, you click connect and you'll be able to connect to your data sets. Right now, you can see that new visual calculation, new quick measure, all these things are not highlighted because there is no data in them. And then those of us who love to work with AI, there's Copilot featured in here. So you can work with our data sets. Okay. There's this data set we worked on last week. It's just one data set. Let's try to bring it in. Was it 2 weeks ago before you had the self-study? Did you actually study? Let's see. This thing, I think we have 2 data sets in it. So what I'm doing right now is extraction, right? So I'm trying to load the data in there. And then let's see. Okay. So right now, we can see a window has popped up over here. So these are the worksheets that we have in the table, right? Right now, we can't see anything over here because no item have been selected. But the moment we check the tiny little box over here, it's going to give us a preview of the data we have over here. So that helps you to confirm that indeed this is the data set I want to work with. Then you load. So you can see that now that we have selected a data set, the load is highlighted. There's transform data and then there's cancel. So the extraction is what we just did by bringing in data. We've extracted the data. So we can load, right? And then start working with it, or we can transform, hit transform if we have any transformation to do with the data. But if this is not the data set we want, we can click cancel, right? And that will go back. So let's try to load it again. I'm only I just hope that this particular data set has the previous one created. So let's see sheet 1. Let's see. Okay. It's the same thing. All right, so let's just load this one into Power BI. Let's assume this is the data we want to work with. Now, let me open this side. I don't know what changes are in there. Let's load this first. Okay. Now, before there is nothing here, but the moment the data was the loading step got complete, we can see the data over here. So when you click on this, you are going to see all the columns that we have in our data sets. Right? When you click on table 2, you are going to see these are the data sets that we selected. We are going to see them over here. Now you can see that some of the things that we couldn't do has now been highlighted because data is here, right? So let's assume that we have loaded the data. So this is ELT, right? Okay, we've done EL, extract and loading, but we realize that maybe we want to transform the data, right? So to do that, look at the top, there is get data, Excel workbook, OneLake, SQL, and so all these are sources that you can get data from. So you can see data written over here. Then here we have queries, and you can see transform data over here. So if you want to transform your data, you click on transform, and that will open another page for you. That will open another page for you. Now you can see that we are in the different environments. This is what the Power Query Editor interface looks like, right? The Power Query interface, this is what it looks like, even in Excel. So you have the file. This is currently the file. Then we can go home. We are in home, actually. There's transform, right? Or whatever transformation you want to do, then add column. So right now we can see that we have some null values over here. That is because last with the video that we did, we tried to find the sum of quantity, the average of unit price, the average unit price, and then what else did we find? Yeah, so those are the two things we did. And because a value is in this row, it has made the connecting rows, it has given it a null value, which means there's nothing in there. So we can clean up these null values by hitting the, what do you call it? The supplier, the column. So you can see that all of these are white and this is gray. It means this one is selected. So let's try that with the product. You can see the moment I clicked on it, the product is selected, right? So let's say we want to, what can we do? Let's say we want to clean the null values in there. So I'm going to open it, and then it reveals the items that you have over there. So currently everything is selected. It has selected everything, but we only want to clean the null values. So let's check this. But once we select, or everything has been deselected. So we only want to delete this one, right? So you can either remove empty, click on remove empty, and then that would clean it for you. And you realize that the values we have over here, the sum of quantity that we calculated and the unit price is also gone. Now, in Power BI, whatever step you take is documented over here, right? So you have the source, navigation, promoted, headed, and then change type, and then filtered rows. So the source is, when you click on source, it's going to take you to Excel workbook. So it's telling you that the source of this data is an Excel workbook where you got it from. So I got it from my download. You can see it over here, right? Then navigation. So all these things are done for you. Power BI does them for you. Now, when you come to the promoted headers, this is how the data was brought in, right? With the supplier, product, quantity, the header taking the first row, right? But when you click on promoted headers, before we even came to this part, Power BI, Power Query Editor has already done that for us. It noticed that the first rows, they were here, the supplier are the header rows, so it promoted them to the header rows, and then we have change type. So if you want to change, undo any step, like the one we just did over here, you can cancel it to undo it. So once you hit on cancel, you realize that the now values that we deleted has returned. Then we can now see the quantity that we did. So at least today we've seen how to load data. We've gone through the Power BI, the BI architecture and data warehousing. We've seen how it all connects to Power BI. So from here moving, we are going to look at how to do all these steps, the loading, the transformation, the analyzing, the visualization, everything in Power BI. And today we've seen how to transform a data. So by next week, we'll find a data that mirrors real world data sets. Then we use it for our analysis. Hi, King.
Yes, madam.
Hi.
Please, when you check on the database, you realize there is 77%. Those one, what do they mean?
Okay, so thanks for asking that. That is the profile of your data sets. Okay, let me go into that quickly and then talk about it before. I think we are 3 minutes behind time, but let me talk about it. Okay, so that is giving you the quality of your data, the profile of your data. So because of the errors that we have in here, our data is not 100% complete. So the green is telling you how valid it is. So it's 7% valid. It has 0 errors, but 23% empty rows. So how many, what do you have? We have 13, right? 13 rows of data. And it appears 1, 2, 3 rows represents 23% empty rows. So let's clean it once again. And let's see whether that will change. So let's remove the empty rows. And you can see that validity has not been promoted to 100% because there is no empty rows in our data set. So it's good you ask this question, right? This will tell you how valid your data is. If there's any error in them, it will reveal it to you, right?
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, this is what to be looking at moving forward. So please visit the LMS out, generate a data set, create some videos. Make it what do you call it? Short videos so that you know how to load, how to transform, how to maybe tackle a null value, how to replace or standardize the format so that these are base sizes that you can refer to anytime. And then once we come next week, we'll have we can have the practical sessions together. Is that okay?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. And we will meet right now. We'll meet on the LMSA. I'll meet you, you meet me, but unfortunately, it's not real time. We cannot talk. But hey, it's fine. So yeah, we'll meet next week in person for any that's my number is there, my email is there. If you have any questions at all, you can reach out to me and I'll respond. As I said, you get my attention much sooner on email than call. Also, you can try email and WhatsApp. Those get my attention real quick.
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right. Thank you too, and enjoy the rest of the session. I know you are tired, but finish strong. Okay.
Yes, please.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Have you learned spreadsheets, Mama?
Hmm?
Have you learned spreadsheets?
Spreadsheets.
You've learned all the three things that we have learned so far in this thing.